I'm at the end of my presentation, so I saved the best for last. These are my comments on the United States Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. The Strategic Bitcoin Reserve was introduced by Senator Lummis at Bitcoin Nashville. At that point, the outcome of the election was uncertain. If it had been a split Congress, if it had not been a red wave, it would have been a challenge. This was unclear 10 days ago, but today you have a pro-Bitcoin White House, pro-Bitcoin House of Reps, and a pro-Bitcoin Senate, and a pro-Bitcoin senator that has made her mission to accomplish this. And her bill calls for 1 million Bitcoin to be purchased by the United States government over 5 years. Let's talk about the geopolitical logic. Why will it happen? Why should it happen? Well, first of all, it establishes a fair, equitable, and peaceful system to resolve political differences. We know that Donald Trump's in favor of ending endless wars. It's better to have a business outcome than a military outcome to solve problems. Go back. And this supports prosperity and lustre in a Pax Americana in the 21st century. Right? This establishes Pax Americana 21. This is a chance to own the 21st century. Like the U.S. can own it. You address the deficit with an innovative economic idea and an innovative technical idea. You extract trillions of dollars of capital from the 20th century physical and financial economy. But as the money flows out of physical and financial assets, it flows into Bitcoin, and the United States can own all the Bitcoin. So the United States is the beneficiary of the passage from the 20th to the 21st century. Own the 21st century. This is where all the money's going. You might as well buy it before it gets there. This cements the US dollar as the world reserve currency, and it also establishes a world reserve capital network that the US also owns and controls. Right? The best way to protect the dollar is make sure that we retire the debt and we become rich. The next best way to protect the dollar is to make sure that if anybody ever considers a different capital asset other than the Treasury bill, you own it. Well, there's only two capital assets that make any sense. The 20th century asset was the Treasury bill. The 21st century asset is Bitcoin. If you own both of them, you can't lose. You can only win. Any movement away from Treasuries is going to go toward Bitcoin. The obvious thing to do is just buy it before everybody gets there. They either won't go, and it won't matter, or they will go, and you'll be a beneficiary then too. The other geopolitical brilliance of this is that you're attracting foreign capital to the U.S. from our enemies. People are selling Chinese real estate, Russian real estate, African real estate, South American real estate. Everything in the world, they're selling it, their capital, the securities, the bonds, they're selling that in order to buy Bitcoin. And so everybody in the world, if you had $1 billion and you lived in Mexico, would you trade it for $1 billion in the U.S.? Yes. Would you trade all your money in Cuba or Venezuela or China or Russia for a U.S. real estate? Yes, you would. But you can't. You can't do that, right? It's impossible for Russian oligarchs to sell their Russian real estate and buy Manhattan real estate. But what they can do is buy Bitcoin. When they do, if we own it, we benefit from it. So this is about attracting capital from everywhere else in the world, bringing it to the U.S., where it creates U.S. jobs, U.S. prosperity, enriches U.S. corporations, U.S. institutions, U.S. citizens, and the United States municipal, state, and federal government. Right? You want all the money in the world to come to you. And if they wanted to buy the land, it's like, well, I don't know if I can sell them the land, but they can just buy Bitcoin, and then our Bitcoin goes up by a factor of 100. This is the impact of the Lummis bill. If you crank in the assumptions, if we implement the Lummis bill, well, we're going to overcome and we're going to get the debt under control via good tax policy, good technology policy, good industrial policy, innovation, AI, robots, the like. But as we build the Bitcoin position to $17 trillion, we're going to retire and convert the net debt position to be something which is very de minimis. So, yeah, is this a good idea? Yeah. Why? Because if I'm wrong, it costs nothing. If I'm wrong, it costs nothing. You're paying for it with money you printed, which costs nothing. It's literally like a penny on $100. It's like 1%, 2%, 3%. If I'm wrong, it costs nothing. If I'm right, you solve all your problems. Like, that's an asymmetric bet. Like, I'm giving you a 1,000-to-1 payoff, and you're betting with free money. And you're going to tell me you don't want to take the bet because you're risk averse? You have free money. It's a 1,000-to-1 payoff. That's the Lummis bill. There are historic precedents for this, right? Once upon a time, the Dutch paid 60 guilders for Manhattan. They generated a multi-trillion-dollar payoff, 60 guilders. Once upon a time, we bought the Louisiana Territory for $15 million. It's like a third of the country. It's worth trillions. We bought California from the Mexicans, under duress, I'll note, but we still paid them. They didn't want to sell because they were smart. You shouldn't have sold California. But nonetheless, we paid $18 million. We had a chance to do the deal. We paid them $18 million. We got California, Nevada, Vegas. It's worth quite a lot, $8 trillion. And then we bought Alaska from the Russians. We paid them a few million. It's worth trillions. Okay, it's been done before. It's a very simple idea. Figure out where the value is going to be. Go buy it cheap and hold it. You're a nation. That's what nations do. This is manifest destiny. Bitcoin is manifest destiny for the United States. I think the Trump administration understands it. I think Senator Lummis understands it. I think everybody that's behind her understands it. That's why it will happen. This is my last slide. This is the greatest deal of the 21st century, the strategic reserve. If we don't do the Lummis deal, if we don't pass that bill and all we do is just hold the existing Bitcoin on the balance sheet, it's worth $3 trillion to the people. If the Lummis bill passes as currently drafted, it's a $16 trillion benefit to the United States over 21 years. If they decide to go double max, and they double that, it's a $30 trillion benefit. If they assume a triple max position and they purchase 4 million Bitcoin, it's $56 trillion. And of course, the deal of the century, maybe the greatest deal of all time, would be the Trump deal. If we go Trump max, which is the rational thing, buy the Bitcoin, it's worth $81 trillion. We'll retire all the debt. We'll be the richest country in the world for hundreds of years, right? It's very straightforward. And the beauty is, the more aggressively you pursue this, the less risky it gets. This is one of those things where if the U.S. does this, every other country has to follow. The Saudis, the Emiratis, the Europeans, the Chinese, the Russians, everybody follows. Every company follows. The 20th century gets put away. The 21st century comes into view. The capital comes out of the rest of the world, flows into the Bitcoin network, which rests and floats right above the United States of America. So, will this happen? Yeah, I think it's going to happen. The only question is it going to be a double max, a Lummis bill, a triple max, or a Trump max? And that's what we're going to find out in the political process in the coming 12 months. And with that, I want to thank all of you for your time.